Okay, so I'll just introduce Heather Wall. And we can follow up with lots more background stuff uh, as we go on, but we don't usually get requests to come and recruit our students, so I'm really happy. Please,
Yeah.
okay,
So
please.
thank you, Roger. So I'm super happy to be here today. I was supposed to be there in person, but unfortunately with the way the federal government is being impacted right now, like things are a little bit not normal. So I wasn't able to be there in person, but Roger had a great idea about trying to do it via Zoom today. So happy to be here. I'm hoping maybe in the fall I can come back in person once the travel restrictions open up a little bit. So let me just get started. So like Roger said, my name is Heather Wall. I graduated from SUNY Stony Brook with my master's back in 1997, and I was one of Roger's students. I have been down here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast for 26, 27 years. I worked for the Department of Defense, the Department of Navy as a civilian federal servant. So I'm a federal civilian in the workforce. So I work for the Navy, but I'm not active duty. So we're going to go through a couple slides. So this is like our recruiting brief. And I will caveat this by saying, first of all, we were hiring aggressively up until about a month or so ago. So right now we are in a hiring freeze, but we are still collecting resumes in the hopes that the hiring freeze will be lifted soon. So if this is something that sounds interesting to you, I definitely encourage you to submit your resume, and we can go over there's a flyer that I sent Roger on it includes all the information and how to apply. But we'll go ahead and get started. So like I mentioned, I work for the Naval Oceanographic Office located down here at Stony Space Center on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We are about 1 hour from New Orleans, like north or about an hour east of New Orleans on Interstate 10, which runs north or east-west along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So we can go ahead. So the first slide is entitled Naval Meteorology and Oceanography Command. So that is the headquarters, and underneath that headquarters, there are multiple commands underneath that. So moving on to slide 2. So the Naval Meteorology and Oceanography Command Enterprise Overview. So we do have global operations around the world. And again, we are headquartered here at Stony Space Center in southern Mississippi. We currently operate 6 oceanographic, pretty nice survey vessels. They're called tags. So those are deployed all over the globe, and they do not have a home port. So they pull into different ports all over the world, and they're maintained, and the maintenance and the repairs happen in different ports all over the world. We are the leader, the Department of Defense leader in uncrewed unmanned systems. And also co-located here, we do have a Department of Defense high performance computing center. Moving on to the next slide. And I guess if anyone has questions, I don't know if it's best to wait till the end, or if anybody has questions as I'm going through, just speak up and feel free to ask, okay? All right, so slide 3 is, so who are we looking for? What kind of talent are we trying to recruit here at the Naval Oceanographic Office? So the very first bullet there is geosciences. So we recruit oceanographers, hydrographers, meteorologists, geologists, physicists, and geophysicists. So that probably speaks to all of you that are listening in. We also recruit computer scientists, IT technicians, or IT specialists, definitely cybersecurity to keep our network secure, engineers, electronics technicians. On the uncrewed unmanned side, so we've got a huge variety of different platforms. So we need pilots to pilot those different uncrewed systems back here pilot them remotely, right? So we need pilots and people to maintain them. We also have a pretty large budget, so we have a small financial management group that helps execute the dollars. So let's go on to slide 4. And again, feel free to take yourself off mute if you have any questions. So the next slide is slide 4. So this is just a snapshot and review of 2023. So as you can see, we operate globally. We support the Navy, right? So our main mission is to provide the Navy with environmental information that they need to make decisions about warfighting, basically. So on this slide, in 2023, our ships were deployed and traveled over 260,000 nautical miles. We supported the fleet with over 6,000 requests for service or requests for information. There were over 40,000 unmanned system deployments, so that includes UUVs, gliders, drifting buoys, floats. Over 100,000 nautical miles traveled by unmanned systems. Over 400 people within Naval Oceanography were deployed on different types of deployments all over the world. We also have a small command called the Naval Ice Center. So they produced over 18,000 ice reports and products in 2023. We supported 780 real world operations and exercises. And there's some metrics there about the supercomputer and so on. So definitely we support on a global scale. Moving on to slide 5. So how do we support the fleet? So we've got a variety of platforms and assets for data collection to include our oceanographic multi-purpose survey ships, satellites, unmanned systems. So we take that data and then we process it and make a variety of different products for the fleet, from anything from sending bathymetry data to NGA for chart production. That's just one example. And then the impact and the decision. So we impact decisions that are made every day by those in real world operations in the Navy fleet. Okay, moving on to slide 6. So where do the civilians here work? So this is a map of the United States and Hawaii, right? So underneath the Naval Meteorology and Oceanography Command, there are several subordinate commands, right? So I am down there on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, so I work for the Naval Oceanographic Office. But if you see the stars up there in Washington, D.C., so the US Naval Observatory is located in Washington, D.C. Down there in Norfolk, Virginia is the Fleet Weather Center, Norfolk. In Hawaii, we have the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. In Monterey, Hawaii, we have FINMOC, which is the Fleet Numerical Meteorology and Oceanography Center. And then in San Diego, California, we have Fleet Weather Center San Diego. So the civilians that support naval oceanography are located all over the United States. So moving on to the next slide, a little bit about Stony Space Center. So Stony Space Center was established by NASA in 1965 to test the Saturn rocket. So where I work currently is a NASA center. It's a NASA facility, but the biggest occupant on site is Navy, the Navy. So Naval Oceanography has had continuous presence here since 1978. A little historical note, so back in the 70s, this office was actually located in, I think, somewhere near the Navy Yard in Washington, D.C. But in the mid to late 70s, the office moved down here to Stennis. And currently Stennis, it's a federal city. There's over 5,000 people that work here, but everything is very spread out. There's a lot of land. So, over 40 different agencies and contract offices are located here. So, like I said, it's a big piece of property. It's, I don't know how many hundreds of acres, but it's very large. And there's no traffic. Okay, next slide. Slide 8. So this is just a couple really interesting, cool projects that we're working on here at NAVO. So there on the left, there's a couple pictures of our different various uncrewed systems and platforms. The center there is called the Survey Operations Center. So this is it's a schematic of what the end state is going to be, hopefully here soon. So the plan is to be able to pipe data back in near real time and instead of having all of our civilians supporting different oceanographic surveys all around the world, the goal is to have maybe half of them be able to be back here at Stennis Space Center, reviewing and analyzing the data in real time, so that not as many people need to be deployed forward on the ships. And then there on the right is a 4D ocean cube concept. So the idea behind this is, so the Navy, Naval Oceanography, we have over 30 years of climatology, oceanography climatology all over the world. So in this scenario, we're able to apply real world scenarios using that climatology to better inform warfighting decisions for the Navy and for the fleet. So moving on to slide 9. So this is, again, talking about how we, the Naval Oceanographic Office, or NAVO, how we support the fleet. So again, we have a variety of different collection assets, ships, buoys, gliders, UUVs. We also have an aircraft. So we have an aircraft that can collect high resolution bathymetry data in water up to 70 to 100 meters. So that's a great asset that we have as well. And one example of how that data is used is, so we have a whole department of people here that use satellite information and all of the oceanographic information that we collect to produce annotated and analyzed imagery. So that's one of the products that come out of this office. And on the bottom there, we also provide lots of tactical products to the fleet. Okay. Next slide. It's just another summary of the Naval Oceanographic Office. So our mission is to advance global maritime security and operational excellence by ensuring access, decision advantage, maneuverability, and increasing lethality of naval combat power. So that's our official mission statement here at NAVO. There on the bottom right, you can see that personnel-wise for the command, we only have 5 military billets. So even though we are a department of the Navy command, there's over 800 civilians currently employed here, and only 5 military. So like our top commanding officer, he is a Navy captain, but again, a huge number of civilians and also a fair number of contractors as well. So right now we've got 89 contractors. The bottom bullet there says there's numerous entry-level vacancies. Again, we are in a hiring freeze right now, but we are very hopeful that that will be lifted soon. Okay, the next slide is a snapshot of where our ships have been deployed in the past. So as you can see, We pretty much cover the globe, so definitely opportunities to come work here and see the world, sail all the world's oceans. Early in my career, so again, I've been here for 26, 27 years. Early on in my career, I had the opportunities to several years in a row to travel on our tag ships. So some places I have been able to visit, let's see, Aqaba, Jordan in the Middle East was one of the places I got to go. The western coast of Africa, so both Senegal and Gabon. Also did a survey in San Francisco, California. So, and also Vancouver, British Columbia. So up there on the West Coast. That's just my experience, but that was over 22 years ago. But our ships are deployed 365 days a year, all over the globe. Okay. I guess I can pause. Are there any questions before I continue on?
Yeah. Yeah, Kamazima.
It's Kamazima here. How are you? Great to hear from you. I have one question, maybe not a question, comment. I'm surprised there's not much presence of the tags in the Arctic, given that the Arctic is becoming more and more.
Yes, that's a good question. So yes, so there are requirements in the Arctic. However, our ships are not super capable to handle, definitely can't handle ice. And so you see, like, if you go back to that slide, yeah, you're on there right now. So you can see, like, up in the Aleutians of Alaska, Iceland, Norway, we've got a really good partnership with Norway. So there are requirements up there. However, our ships are not super capable up in those high latitudes. So we are partnering with the Coast Guard. So they're building a new Coast Guard cutter, a ship, and they are asking the Navy for our
requirements.
Oceanographic bathymetry requirements. Yes. So good question.
Are the ships crewed by Navy crews or are they civilian crews?
So good question. They are the crew is it's a civilian mariner. Well, not civilian mariners. They're contracted completely separate from the scientific crew that also sails. So they're contractor civilians. So like the captain, the first mate, the second mate, the chief engineer, right there. So those are all contractors, civilian contractors.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions before I continue on?
Maybe online, check online.
I'll have to see if I can check online. Does anyone, did anything go into the chat? I can't see it.
There are no questions in the chat at the moment.
No questions. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Next.
Okay. So yeah, we'll go on to slide 12. So slide 12 is just a one slide summary of one of the Naval Oceanographic Office's sister commands. So FINMOC is the Fleet Numerical Meteorology and Oceanography Center. So they are located primarily in Monterey, California, but they do have a small component here at Stony as well. So they focus mostly on the meteorology and the ARC interaction of global models and ensembles. So they produce regional models, lots of climate support, and also, you know, they strive for improving model accuracy and long-range forecasting. So that's one of our sister commands. They are not near as large as the Naval Oceanographic Office. I believe they've got about 150 civilians and a couple of military. So the next slide is just a snapshot of some of the metrics on our the Navy something shared resource center, Defense. I don't remember what DSRC stands for, but it's the shared resource center. So it's the supercomputer that is located in the main NAVO building. I'm not an IT person, but there's some metrics there in case any of you are interested.
Yeah, some of them I can see high computing power there, like the Nautilus. It's like a big system there, an HP.
Yes.
And the top one is also on the computer, the Gaffney. These are beefy machines. Wow.
Yes. Yeah, they're so naval meteorology and oceanography only has a small percentage of this computing power. I think I can't remember if it's 10% or 25%. Like, so we don't have access to all of the computing power on this supercomputer, but we do get a percentage of it. Okay, so the next slide, 14, is just a one slide overview of the US Naval Observatory. So the US Naval Observatory, or USNO, is located in Washington, D.C. I actually had the opportunity about 10 years ago now to visit. So impressive. But basically, they keep precise time for the military for GPS and precise time and navigation. So they have a really important mission. So unfortunately, every time there's like a budget cut to Navy or Department of Defense, the U.S. Naval Observatory is almost always kind of fenced from those reductions and those budget reductions, because their mission is so critical for navigation and timing. So next slide talks about, so what are the civilian workforce requirements, if anybody out there, if any of y'all are interested in becoming a civilian here at the Naval Oceanographic Office. So the first requirement must be a U.S. citizen. So also completion of a 4-year course of study at an accredited college. So Stony Brook certainly checks that block. So, we're looking for folks with a bachelor's or higher in any of the physical sciences, oceanography, meteorology, mathematicians. We hire mathematicians as well. Trying to think of who I forgot, but geologists. So all of those, we have our HR folks here that would just take a look at your transcript just to make sure you qualify. But I guarantee you everybody there would qualify after completion of your degree, of course. So one of the other additional requirements is the ability to obtain and maintain a secret security clearance at a minimum. So some positions are higher. And if an individual out there, like a recent graduate or soon to be graduate, applies for a survey travel position. So not all positions here are survey travel, but if you happen to get into one of those positions, you've got to be willing and able to deploy anywhere for 2 to 4 months per year. And those months are not always consecutive. So they like to do what they call survey pairs. So, and our surveys are typically about 30 days with a 5-day import period in between each survey operation. And they like to do pairs. So typically somebody who is not volunteering, but somebody who has it in their position description to be a survey traveler, typically you go for 2 months at a time. And some positions do require folks to be out for 6 months. And it also requires a successful physical exam. Next slide. So this is just, so the table on the right is the pay, the 2025 pay tables. So typically someone with an undergraduate degree would come on as a GS5. So on that table there on the right under grade, that's the same as a general service, which is GS. So somebody with a bachelor's degree would typically come on as a GS5. or a GS7. And then with a master's, typically we hire at the GS9 level, and a PhD, typically they get hired at the GS11 level. So that's just an idea on what the pay compensation looks like. So other benefits are we get annual cost of living increases almost always. There's been a few times that we were trying to think of what administration it was, but about 10 years ago, there was like 1 year that we didn't get a small bump up. Great health insurance, great 401k with 5% matching. So that's really important for retirement. We encourage professional conferences, engagements. But we actually have a long-term training program here where folks that are interested in continuing their education apply for a long-term training. It's a competitive process, but usually there's not a lot of people. So my office pays for a couple people every single year to go off and get higher level education for a whole year of study, but you get paid your normal salary while you're going and pursuing higher education. We get travel compensation. So like say I was to fly, I don't know, on a weekend or so we get paid back. I mean, we get paid back time for travel that's outside of our normal working hours. There's lots of awards. It's a great place to work here. I've been here for a long time. And I guess one thing I could add too is I've been here for 26 or 27 years, but I have been in lots of different jobs over the years. So I think right now I'm in my 6th or 7th job. And I recently moved from my last job back in November to what I'm currently doing now. And it's completely different and it's exciting. I can't talk about it a lot, but I'm learning a lot of new things right now. So it's a great place to work. So slide 17 is just a summary of pictures and kind of what we talked about, but and I don't think I said it, but the mission here for Naval Oceanography is we're responsible for all of the environmental data from the bottom of the ocean to the stars, literally, to support the Navy and the fleet. So that's really all I've got today. My contact info was on the very first slide. So on the very first slide, you've got my name and my phone number. But I'm willing to answer any more questions if anyone has any more questions out there.
So I have a question, Heather. What's a typical request, say that you would call a geology request? What kind of things get asked for? And I guess there are different time scales for different kinds of requests.
So okay, I can talk a little bit about that. So we have a department here called the Mine Warfare Department. And they actually, I didn't talk about the geology lab, but the Naval Oceanographic Office, we have the only, I don't know if certified is the right word, but we have an active geology lab where they do, and they've only been in there a handful of times, but it's really impressive. So they do core analysis, grab sample analysis. They've got the, you probably know more than I do, Robert, or Roger, sorry. They've got like radiation, so they x-ray the cores. But so a typical request could be, given, I don't know, in a coastal location or a port or a harbor, what is the likelihood that, say an enemy to put mines in a harbor. One of the questions could, one of the requests from the fleet could be, what's the likelihood that an explosive mine, right, would sink or would rest on the ocean, on the seafloor. That's one example. But yeah.
Do you do much with interact much with ONR? Because I know they've had sort of, what was 6.1? Haven't worked with them for a while, but in their research funds, they often have
Yes. So,
warfare.
so I'm actually, my new job, the gentleman that was in the position before me actually left this command. So right next door to the main NAVO building is Naval Research Lab Stena Space Center, and they fall under ONR. And a lot of times, so ONR, the Naval Research Lab, they do like what you said, Roger, 6.1, 6.2 research. So they're funded to do certain research and development type work. And so that it goes 6.1 through 6.6, I want to say 6.1 all the way up to 6.6. But when it's getting closer to being ready to transition into operations, that's when that research and development comes to NAVO to apply in an operational setting.
I've only
So there,
been about up to 6.3, so I don't know what goes beyond that, but okay, so good.
Yeah.
So results that come out of like the ONR sort of segue into the more operational parts of the Navy's interest.
yes. In fact, I don't really know a lot about that process, but 6.1 and 6.2 R&D money is like pure research. And then 6.3 to 6.4 is more getting us into operational. And then there's a period of time where there's like the transition period. But yeah, so Naval Research Lab is literally right down the street from the Naval Oceanographic Office. And there is a really good partnership there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Hi, I have two questions.
Sure.
Okay, so my first question is about are you like promoting only from your base over in Mississippi, or are there like opportunities also up closer to New York or something?
So the closest Naval Oceanography office to New York would be in Washington, D.C. or in Norfolk, Virginia. So the US Naval Observatory, they hire mostly like astronomers and to work on like astrometry and like time clock. But they're in Washington, D.C.
Okay, and then
So
my
unfortunately, yeah, sorry. So unfortunately, there are no offices for this office for Naval Oceanography up in New York.
Oh, okay. Which makes sense. We're in a city more.
Yeah.
My second question is, I know that you said that we have to complete the 4-year like college undergrad and stuff. But I was wondering, like, are there any internships available while we're still like completing our 4 years, or?
Yes, I don't have it with me, but I will send Roger and Henry and whoever else. I'll send it to Roger. But so there is a Department of Defense internship program called SMART. It's a DoD, Department of Defense internship program, and it's amazing. It's very competitive, but so basically the DoD offers a in the STEM right in the areas of STEM, which definitely oceanography counts, or meteorology, or geology. But it's I can send Roger a flyer. But basically, if selected for the program, they pay a pretty generous stipend. They pay your tuition. They promote internships throughout your college or graduate career, and they guarantee employment when you're done with your degree. It's amazing. I didn't do that, but there's several folks here that work here that have been successfully through that program. So I will send, I'll make a note and I'll send Roger that information.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I guess one thing real quick that I didn't mention is I sent it's called a direct hire flyer to Roger, so he has it, but it's It's called Department of the Navy Career Opportunities, Solicitation of Applicants for Positions in the Physical Sciences and Mathematics job series. So I'm going to hold it up.
I don't know if we
So
can
it's, I know you can't see it, but it's the front and back, but it has very specific instructions how to apply for any open entry-level positions in the sciences here at the Naval Oceanographic Office. So hopefully
there's some,
Roger can send that out to anybody that's interested, or post it somewhere where you all can see it.
Okay.
Thank you for talking about all this today. I just got one quick question that I suspect might be a little difficult to answer, but given the range of potential entry-level positions, what are some of the responsibilities of someone who would be newly hired?
That's a great question. So we've got, I can give you a little bit more background about the structure of the Naval Oceanographic Office, right? So it's the largest civilian organization that falls under Naval Oceanography. So there are multiple departments, but we've got a warfighting support center. So those entry-level folks deal mostly with, I don't know how to say it, viewing analyzed imagery and making scientific recommendations based on what they see in satellite imagery. We've got an oceanographic department. So entry-level folks there would, especially if they're a survey traveler, right? So they coming in the door, it does take a while, unfortunately, to get, all your accounts and stuff set up, but an entry-level person in the oceanography department would start getting all the required documentation and stuff for going on survey travel. And typically those individuals, in the beginning of your career, you will sail on one of our white tag ships as a watchstander. So that's basically learning all of the equipment and standing the watch. And then as you progress throughout your career, the next step for that department would be oceanographic lead, or a lead oceanographer. And then beyond that would be the data manager. That's at a higher level. And then above that is the senior Nav Oceano rep that is kind of in charge of all of the Navy civilians on the ship, making sure that the requirements are being met, the data is being collected properly. So that would be an entry-level person in the oceanography department. We also have a hydrography and bathymetry department. Same idea. We have a lead bathymetrist or a lead hydrographer on those types of surveys. We have an acoustics department. So they're basically looking at different types of models and databases on how sound propagates through the water column and also through sediments. And then we have the mine warfare department that has the geology lab. So those folks also travel on oceanographic surveys as well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I don't see any hands here. So when we were talking about you coming before, there was some thought that if you that our undergraduate population could be very interested in these opportunities, and that this might not be the best time to talk to them. So I guess
Sure.
they'll have some discussions here, I guess, and see if there's something that might work. I guess Wednesday evening, there's maybe a clubs, or there's sort of groups together that you could link to people. We could come up with some suggestions and let you know.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm coordinating something, a time that works best for undergraduates. We might want to rope geosciences into this conversation as well.
Okay, yes, so I'm flexible. I guess if you just let me know what is the best time, I'll figure out how to make it work. Yep.
David,
Yes.
I think computer science, because they are beauty into this would also in the list.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yes, so I didn't mention, like, our IT department is about 100 positions. So it takes, like, for all the data coming in, right, and being processed, and so we've got a huge IT department that deals with cybersecurity, networks, all of that. So yeah, so we also hire computer scientists and IT specialists. Great.
I will coordinate with the appropriate other undergraduate program directors.
Okay, and like I mentioned, I'm hopeful that in the fall, things are a little bit different and I'll be able to come up there in person.
That would be great.
Yeah, that'll be wonderful.
Hi, Henry.
Well done. Very, very
Thank
nice of you to take this opportunity for people.
Yeah, I'd much rather be there in person, but this was a great alternative, I guess. Yeah.
Well,
You
it
can come
opens
in.
the door here.
Yes.
All right, so I guess you're gonna send some information about internships that we'll post somehow. And I, as I
Yeah.
say, did send the flyers about employment opportunities and also another description of NAVO that we can make available somehow. People who know how to contact. I'm sort of out of the loop with a lot of this.
We do it every Wednesday, if not more frequently.
Nancy Black does that.
Okay.
Send her Nancy Black.
All right, so we can give her some resources.
Right.
And all right, so thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Bye-bye.
Hope to see you in person and soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Mary says hi too, so. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.